Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Jonathan Lipp, Director of the Big Apple Film Festival. Thank you again for joining our Agents and Managers Conference. So again, this week we have the Big Apple Film Festival taking place live in person at the SVA Theater in New York City, with screenings going on in person until this evening. And we also have the films available virtually as well until tomorrow, May 27th. In addition, we have our Agents and Managers Conference also taking place this week and concluding again tomorrow, Friday, May 27th. And for today's conference, we now have with us agent from the Gersh agency, Shan Ray. Hello, Shan. How you doing?
Hi, good. How are you guys?
All right.
Nice to be here.
Thank you so much. And we have our moderator with us, Craig Price. Hello, Craig. Are you able to hear me okay? All right. Cool. Again, just a reminder for our all access pass holders, please be sure to fill out the registration form so we can share information on your projects with all of our speakers for this week. And that's about it. I'll take it from, I'll hand it over to Greg now. Thank you.
All right. Well, good morning, Shan. It's nice to have you here.
Hi, it's great to be here.
And before we start, why don't you talk about what you do at the Gersh agency as an agent, so people have an idea of what exactly your day-to-day life is like.
Sure. I'm a TV literary agency at the Gersh agency. The Gersh agency is now, with the mergers that have happened in our business, technically the oldest agency in Hollywood. Fully vertically integrated talent, unscripted, scripted, features, TV, comedy, touring, branding, and all those different facets. My focus is television writers and directors. And day to day is a combination of both trying to get our clients, our writers and directors, jobs on existing shows, directors getting directing assignments on television shows, writers getting into writers' rooms, as well as selling new development and possibly setting up projects for our clients, and as they take out new pitches, new scripts, and taking that out to market, packaging them up with elements hopefully that can, give it a better shot at success. And yeah, that predominantly is the bulk of what I do. I also am secondarily part of a two-man agency initiative in the international format business, where we look at international shows that could be great for American remake, when we partner with that rights holder and then try to put it together. I don't know if anybody's seen The Cleaning Lady that's on Fox now and doing really well. That's a show that we put together as a format out of Argentina, and it's having a lot of success, and we've had others like that in the past.
Well, great, because we're going to talk about packaging and preparing to pitch your film, scripts, or series. So can you explain a little bit, because I think the packaging is a very broad, generic term. When you're packaging and preparing to pitch, what kind of things make a package really jump out versus just the bare minimum of what a package is usually it's just the content plus something. What makes it the most effective packaging?
Well, first of all, I think packaging has become a dirty word in our business, unfortunately, and with different aspects. But in essence, what it truly means is that you're trying to put together any elements you feel could add value to a project. So adding just some actor or some director, just for having an actor or director attached to your project doesn't add value necessarily. So we're looking at those people that actually do add value in the marketplace. Part of our job is to know what various streamers, networks, and studios are looking for, who they want to be in business with, both up and coming actors, especially in networks really, the traditional networks have actors that earmarked that, that's why you see them in pilots every single year, even though not everyone goes, because they really think they're a star. And in streaming, it is the A-list, Nicole Kidman, Hugh Grant, and Reese Witherspoon, Jennifer Aniston's, and that ilk that really can push a project to immediate green light. And the same in the view of directors and showrunners.
So given the agreements with the WGA, and I'm not 100% versed on it, about agencies that can no longer packaging, or there's different rules about packaging, how has that changed what you do?
So that's the thing, like when I refer to it as a bad word, that just is in regards to how agencies can participate financially in a show. That traditional model, which is going away, constituted in a nutshell, instead of us commissioning the clients we have involved at 10%, we would pull a fee from the licensing part of the show. That's going away. But in this hyper competitive marketplace where there's never been more appetite to buy, it's also never been harder to sell. So even though we can't participate in that way in the financials of the show, it behooves us for our clients to still put together shows and packages to do that. And it's still the word we use. It just doesn't have the financial constitution. I think, part of why it's going away is that people are abusing the term. They weren't putting any elements together, but immediately asking for that monetary kickback, which we try not to do. But people have gone to egregious levels on that, and it had gotten somewhat out of control. So regardless of whether what's going away or not, that active participation of agents trying to put projects together is still going to go on.
Right. It's more about how you get paid, not what you do.
Right. What we do is staying the same. It'll just, be different in that aspect.
So what mistakes do you see people make when they try to package deals? Because I guess a lot of people may not actually know the proper way of making sure that they've got all the pieces in place. What mistakes do you see quite often that could easily be avoided, or is something that is definitely a big red flag for you?
I don't think there's mistakes, as it were, right? It's a witch's brew. I don't think anyone knows the exact science of this. But going back to what I'd alluded to earlier, I think mistakes are overloading a project before it goes out. Adding producers or multiple producers or actor friends or whatever that want to be part of the show that don't add value. I think all should understand that when you're adding something as an element to something that's going out, it has a dollar amount. And so when a studio streamer looks at something and they can kind of gauge on it, in a ballpark, how much something's going to cost. But then you're saying this has to sell with this actor, but they don't assign a financial floor ceiling that would, justify that budget. That could push towards a pass, right? So I've had projects in the past that have come with someone attached, and we have to have that hard conversation, which is, I think they could stay attached and we could say they're interested, but attachment is not helping the project. On the front end, of course, if you're the showrunner or creator and we sell the show, you'll have a strong word as to who gets what role. But the financials on the front end are definitely evaluated when you're trying to sell anything.
Right. It's a difference between, is it a creative decision or is it a business decision? And sometimes those two are not necessarily aligned.
Right.
Right. Alex Cherney's asking, as a writer producer, what's the proper way to tell an agent you have an offer for an actor they rep, and where can they find how much to offer talent? So they
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, Craig.
As a writer producer, what's the proper way to tell an agent you have an offer for an actor they rep, and where can you find out how much to offer the talent? So they've got an idea.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They want to tell you, but they want to make sure that they don't, insult the actor, and they certainly don't want to overpay the actor. So there's one of those things.
Right. Wow. I have some clients that I do work within the agency that are actors, but I don't do that day to day. But to answer the question the best I can, I think legitimizing the person, who you are, the project that it is that you're making an offer. I always tell, when I make negotiations with business affairs on a project and I'm selling something, they say, just tell us what you want. And the first thing I'll ever say as an agent is, I'm never going to negotiate against myself, right? If I think you only have $30 and I say $30, but you add out 200,000, of course I'm not going to ask for $30, but you know what I'm saying. And you also don't want to ask something that you feel could be offensive. So I would say, if they're interested in, I'd approach that agent with the material and saying, we have this financial backing, and really lay it out that the money is real. First and foremost in our business, real money is hard to come by.
Yeah.
right? And so there is an innate amount of skepticism that gets built and layered on top of an agent the more years you are. It's like the rings on a tree, right? Of what's real and what's not. And so if it is real, I would say you send the script. So let's see if they're interested, or that agent, you need to get that agent engaged before they're going to ever send it to their client. Engage creatively. And then you can engage in that conversation and ask about, I don't know how much on talent you can ask about quotes. You can't do that anymore in lit with writers because of the last writers negotiation, but get a ballpark. But I think it always starts with the creative. 100% starts with the creative. It's not the money. It's about, because those agents, you have to understand, are looking out for the longevity of their client's career, not just, we just need to book them out, right? We need to know the project's good so they can book the next thing. So that, in my opinion, is the first and foremost thing to lead with.
You're not running a temp agency. You're not trying. You are, but you're not. They're temporary jobs, but they're really about long-term careers.
Right, right.
And of course, someone just might fall in love with the content and take it on a lesser fee if they love
100%.
Which happens.
Take it for $1. If
Yeah,
they
yeah.
love it, they're like, maybe they have a personal connection to that story.
Mhm.
And say, listen, I want to do this. I'll help you put it together. Let's call our friends, whatever. There are shows on right now where I really like it, but I can't understand how it got made. And it's got huge stars to it.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because one person signed on and said, I love this. I think it's hilarious. And they called all their friends.
Sure.
That show, the name is slipping my mind, but it's on HBO Max. The one about the pirates with Taika Waititi.
Our Flag Means Death.
Yeah, right. I love that show. It's my kind of humor, but I'm watching it and the production value is so low. But I think the comedy is hilarious. I love Australian humor, but like, how did you get all these guys to be in the show and all these cameos? But it starts with Taika being like, I love this. I'm going to call my friends.
Yep.
And they all do it on a dime. So
yeah, him and Rhys Darby have been friends forever. So.
Right, exactly. Right. So that's how the ball starts rolling.
And just to make sure we don't get anybody upset, it's New Zealand.
Sorry. Yes. Sorry.
So Ron is asking, he's directed a micro budget feature that's available on Amazon, iTunes, and Tubi. How do I get the lookbook and script for my next movie in the right hands? Does he need an indie producer, or should I directly reach out to the streamers?
How to do that? I think either way. I mean, you can go either route, and I don't think one route precludes you from doing the other next. Again, from the TV aspect, I can say when we're taking, just use this as an example because I don't play in the featured business as much on the day-to-day, but when we take out a project, if we take it out, it could be a network show, but done in a darker or stronger way, could be a streaming show. That taking it out on network for network consideration doesn't preclude us from then taking it out to the Amazon, HBOs, and things like that in a kind of slightly different tweak. So I think building on the relationships, if you have the relationships from producers that you want to go to, and getting a strong producer to take it out, I think it's a good route because they have the relationships to then push it to the right people to see it, and then hopefully take it for consideration.
Mm-hmm. So Jeff Harkavy has as a writer director on an indie drama feature, how would one pitch themselves to become a director on TV dramas if that's one's passion? Do you have agencies rep feature directors whose passion is to direct in the TV space? I think he's getting the TV and the old school system where TV and film were completely separate.
Yeah, they used to be. I was at the nexus of that shift when I was coming up at ICM. I was a feature agent actually and got promoted as such there. And then I saw that shift, which is what pushed me to get into television because, back then all the TV clients wanted to meet the feature agent. When do I get to meet my feature agent? When do I get to meet my feature agent? Right? That was what everyone wanted. And I saw the shift where all the TV feature clients were like, when do I get to meet my TV agent? Because that was just a booming business. To answer your question, nothing in our business anymore translates one-to-one. Of course, we do have a lot of feature director clients that want to do television, and we work with a lot of them to cross them over. There is an appetite for feature directors, established feature directors. But if you're up and coming and you've done features, that's still a way in to getting people to look at your material on the TV side, get to know you, and hopefully consider you for projects going forward. I mean, they look at the material, they take a look, they see what they're doing, they look at shorts, right? It's not as easy as I think it was to go from a short to directing television or a movie as it used to be 20 years ago. But it's still doable, but the road is difficult. I think with directors, it is a little more difficult because to a certain extent, I think now with the advent of iPhones and other things where you can make anything pretty much in an afternoon, not to be flip about how easy it is about.
Oh, but broadcast quality in an afternoon.
Right, exactly. I mean, traditionally, directors could only direct when given a job, right? And so if they couldn't get that job or get that feature finance, they couldn't do it. But now it's become a little more universally. You can do it if you really have the gumption to put it together. Whereas writers, all you have to do is write. You can reinvent yourself with one script, right? In a totally different milieu. I mean, you could be a comedy writer and just write this amazing drama, and all of a sudden everyone's like, this is amazing, you're a drama writer now, right? So yeah, to answer that question, I think I did.
Yeah, I think so as well. So Rodney asks, he's got a series that has an established TV director and executive producer already attached. If a top agent read it and loved it, but couldn't take on a new client, would that be something you would say to other people when you meet them? So would another agent be interested if I mentioned the fact that I already had an agent who couldn't take me on, love it? Or is that just blowing smoke?
Of course. I mean, I think people would take a look. I don't want to scoff at that at all. I think, it's tough. I mean, as with agents, you try to keep as open mind and open to, you never know when lightning is going to strike, right? And so you try to find great gems anywhere, right? But you also, I think, going back to the skepticism as an agent, I think we are bombarded on a daily basis with unsolicited query letters of scripts and things, and of course, like I have this and that attached and stuff, and you get a little desensitized to it. So yes, it is difficult, but that said, if that agent did really love it, I would think internally, just talking from my agency, if they loved it but didn't have the bandwidth to take that person on, they would talk to the other 15 of us and be like, I read this script, it's fantastic. And we have a wide gradation of agents in our department, from the very established and the ones that are working with marquee clients and partners at the agency to agents that are just been promoted and looking for new clients. So I think internally there are a lot of other people that would be interested. If in fact the script is great and it has attachments and things like that, why wouldn't an up and coming agent that's trying to build a business take a shot at something like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So David Wilson's going to ask a specific question of you. What are you, Shan? What are you looking for? What grabs your attention when you see a pitch?
Well, a pitch. I mean, I would say the script. I think for me, I mean, I don't meet people as potential clients off pitches.
Well,
right? If you're asking, are we asking about me representing them, or are you talking about
I think
what just gets my attention?
I think it's just in general. It's a general question because you've been in so many, you've been a part of so many, so you know what both sides look like.
Okay, all right. Just what I love. I think with pitches, it's performance, right? I mean, the idea could be great, but unfortunately, our business isn't just one thing. So writers, they're called writers. They should just write, right? That's their job. That's what they went to school for. Unfortunately, especially in development, it's not just writing. It's performance. It's delivery. It's being able to sell a dream. That's what a pitch is, right? The potential of what something could be great. And so when going into a pitch, to have an idea of what the show is, not just the episode of the pilot, but have a vision. Like more and more, these places are all looking for authenticity, authentic stories that are to be told. So you can't just sell Lost anymore, which probably, all attendee know that they didn't know what that show was past the pilot at first.
Not for a year.
A couple of those showrunners had mental breakdowns and took 2 weeks off because the pressure was too much. They didn't know where they were going to go past that pilot. The pilot was amazing. It was one of the greatest pilots of all time. But now they're not doing that anymore. They're not like, this is a great, but what is that show? What's the first season? What's the character arc? What's the payoff? So knowing your show or your idea on the long term, I think is huge. Being able to pitch it succinctly and thoroughly, keep an audience engaged and have those answers. Pitches shouldn't be more than a drama, 20 minutes tops, right? And a comedy, I would say 15 to 18, right? Tops. Like that's how long. Anything longer than that, you lose interest and they're like, what are we still talking about? Anything shorter than that, and they're wondering if you know what this show's about. If you can't talk about it for 10 minutes, then how are you going to fill an hour with this show, right? So it's a nuanced art for sure.
This is from Anonymous. What do you think of the dedicated speed dating style pitch festivals or events? It seems like everyone's looking for new content everywhere. Do you think these are worthwhile or helpful for content creators? And would you consider pitches from those kind of events?
I've done many of those early in my career. You never know where an idea can come from, right? But they're difficult. They are difficult. You're hearing 30, 40 ideas in an hour, however long the pitch session is, right? And to get an essence of what the idea is, like we said, there's so much that goes into it, right? If I'm hearing a pitch for 2 minutes, it's also about execution and the ability to execute. So I haven't read that writer. I don't know if this idea, as great as it is executable by that writer. So it gets difficult. But I use this example and real quick. I don't know if anyone's seen this on YouTube, but if you haven't, you should. Pharrell went to the NYC Tisch School of Music and was just listening to a couple of top people. And, you could see he was there because he knows the teacher. But then Maggie Rogers comes in and he hears that and he perks up and he was like, this is great. And in the end, she blew up because that thing went viral and Pharrell backed her. And so I always go back to that for me, which is I try to tell myself to never preclude myself from finding an idea anywhere and finding the next big thing, finding the next Damon Lindelof in one of these things. I have a really big client, a really prolific client in television right now that the manager found from one of those. Literally came in, pitched the best idea of the day, won that pitch fest. It wasn't a speed dating, but it was a pitch fest. Mm-hmm. And signed him up, then I signed him, and we have been selling 1 to 2 projects a year for the last 5 years. So again, yes, they can be.
And I also think the most practical value of those is that it's practice. It's practice.
100%.
So even if you don't get the 1 in a million shot, you still learn something from that experience.
And we'll probably, Craig, come back to that point if and when someone asks how to get an agent.
Well, that's exactly my next question. You're so good at segues. So actually the question is agent or manager, which do you think is best? And how do you go about getting either or both?
Quick, let's touch on that, but I don't want to spend too much time, but the difference between agent and managers, and I think, I imagine many know, but just to throw it out there before we get into that, which is agents and managers inherently were 2 specific jobs for a client. They have merged more and more over the years as many more agents have become managers and have taken the agency style to management. But it fundamentally is different, both in compensation and in how they go about it. Managers by design should have less clients, exponentially less clients than agents, right? Agents' job is much more transactional based. We get jobs, we do deals, we sell development and those kind of things. Now it's a Venn diagram and it overlaps with the managers, what they do. But managers keep less clients. I'm sorry for the sirens. We are in Beverly Hills and on Wilshire Boulevard. It's very difficult. But managers are the ones we rely on, the good ones I rely on for development, to read 8 drafts of a script and get into the nitty gritty on page 14 and how this one dialogue interchange doesn't work and to make it better. I don't have the bandwidth to do that for every one of my clients, every one of my clients. And I try, and if they need me to do it, and they don't have a manager, I try, but it's difficult. So that's first, agents, managers. I don't think one is easier or more beneficial as your first representative. I think a representative in general is beneficial, big or small, big agency, small agency, boutique management company, huge management company, to the point what we're alluding to, how to get one of those, right? And I think that a lot, this is my personal opinion, I can't speak to whether that's right or wrong. I think a lot of creative people, the creatives, which I'm not, that's why I'm an agent, spend a lot of time focused on getting an agent, as their career hasn't taken off because they don't have an agent. And I kind of flipped the other way, which is agents and representatives will find you if you're working at that high level, just because we are in the business of making money for and with our clients, right? So as a writer, if you've written one script and all you're doing is focusing on sending that script and sending query letters all around town, query letters don't get read. There's also legal ramifications of us taking something unsolicited, right? Well, we don't need to get into that. But the fact is that if you're part of a writer's room of friends that are all writers, and you are excelling as a writer in that room, writing one script and then moving on to the next script, and you're showing that, one of those people in that room could get a job as a writer's assistant and then get promoted. And they're going to want to make sure their boss is in the best capable hands for that next job. They're going to call you, right? Same with actors. If you're the best in your play that's in Saskatchewan, you're probably going to get called up to the next big city and get that role and move forward. And then you're going to get to a place where agents are present and looking for people. And you never know what that's going to be, but you just bring your top game and continue to hone your game, which is what you alluded to before, Craig.
Yeah. Which
is, it's not just one script. It's about every time you put pen to paper as a writer, I feel like you're getting better. You learn a trick, how to pay off a MacGuffin in the third act earlier, to hide it better, to pay off a joke in comedy, all of these things. I mean, I was at a CBS diversity, CBS showcase for actors years ago. And this one woman was by far the funniest person I'd ever seen in my life. And afterwards, I talked to her and I just complimented her. I said, I'm not a talent agent, but I think that you are just the funniest person I've ever met. And then 3 weeks later, she was on Saturday Night Live and it was Kate McKinnon, right?
Oh, I love her.
It was just a CBS, and not just, but it's a pretty prestigious event. It's a CBS showcase. But someone was there that then called Lorne Michaels and said, I think we have your next cast member, right? So you never know when it's going to happen. You just have to be continuing to do great work. And I really think representatives will find you.
Well, we're going to talk about real quick. Someone wants to know, Pam Swahini wants to know, what do you look for in a person that you personally, Sean, represent? Because we've all heard the Hollywood story of difficult clients. What kind of person, character-wise, are you looking for in a client besides someone who's talented? Because that'll only take you so far. As you were talking about going from Saskatchewan up to the next big thing. If you're a jerk, doesn't matter how talented you are sometimes.
100%. I think first and foremost, agents, like any other thing in evolution, are birds of a feather. And I think that the agent's temperament and who they are is very indicative of their client list. If you look at an agent that is really mean or a really difficult agent, both internally and right, you'll look at his client list and he works with a lot of difficult, albeit successful clients. Why? Because he sympathizes with their craziness, right? Because he's a little crazy himself.
They share
right? And I think there is a lot of different flavors. And again, going back really quick, agents and managers, you have to find the one that fits you. Agent for agent's sake, manager for sake, just like packaging. Just for the sake of having one, I don't think benefits you long term. For me personally, I like to think I'm a very even keel person. I I don't negotiate from a place of fear. I'm a fair person. I'm not egregious. I don't kick down doors. I build really great relationships, and I'm practical, and I think, and realistic. And my clients tend to be that way, right? They get the bigger picture. They know they have to work hard. They know that I'm working hard for them every day. But that's me personally.
Yeah.
Ones that are, and personality wise also, are driven to create and continue on to the next thing. Not still saying, well, what about that script from 5 years ago? It's like, we took that out already. Instead of, I got a new idea, I got a new script, I want to send it to you. That is, I like to say we're good at our jobs, or I like to say I'm good at my job, but we're not magicians. And so you can't do the job if you don't have the content, right?
Absolutely. Cindy Wathen Kennedy is asking, when researching which agents, managers, or production companies are a good match for a director to pitch, what websites or other resources are the best for the most up-to-date information besides IMDb Pro, which is amazing?
I mean, we use IMDb Pro.
Yep.
And Studio System. That's not what we use when we're building a list of places to take something out, but that's just because we're a fully functioning agency, and we have a lot of documents and our experience with all these producers, right? We've developed with many of them. We know all of them. We have relationships with these executives. I would say over limiting any project when it's going out isn't, I don't think you should overanalyze if this person's right or not, right? Because you have to take a lot of shots before you go. I mean, this is that guy at the bar that hits on every girl, or girl hits on every, whatever, not guys or girls, but because he's just upping his success rate, right? Like, he will be hopefully successful, right? When we take a project out, we of course identify, here are the producers we think are good for it, but that list is pretty long, right? And then if we have multiple producers interested, then we get into the nitty-gritty. Normally the process will be, we'll take a project out. If we have more than one producer, we'll set a meeting for the writer with that producer to talk creatively at what the project is, and that producer to talk about what they would do. And then we would get back with the client and say, what do you think? Who do you want to go with? And then we go with that producer, right? You got to give yourself more choices that, in the end, it's the best way of going about it.
Yeah, I think people are just so excited to even be the possibility of getting representation that they kind of take the first thing that comes along. And sometimes
Right.
you gotta wait and judge some things on their own merit. Kathy Owens, Killer Surf, Drive, Stay Alive. She has 2 award-winning scripts written for what she has planned as, wow, she's really going big, as a 7-feature franchise that also includes 2 TV pilots. So she's ambitious. Should I include my plans for the franchise in the packaging, or just focus on the first feature?
That's super ambitious. Kudos to you. I think you should. I think you focus on the first feature, but putting together a lookbook or Bible, something that's flashy, that isn't dense, and something that can show how much thought and research has gone into it to show the world as a possibility, is great. Would I send 3 feature scripts, like all 3 versions, all 3 scripts of Lord of the Rings at the same time? No, right? Again, this goes from the creative balance with the business. And if you show that this is what I want to do, I mean, there's only so many Bob Shays in the world that would say, you know what, we're not doing 1 movie, we're doing 3 Lord of the Rings. Like, you bet the company. It's not going to happen, especially now with the financial, prudence that all of these places are showing. But if you get in there but have some kind of thing to go with the script, be like, this is the world. There's so much more here. I mean, the last time I saw something that was even tried like that and it didn't succeed is the Patrick Rothfuss series of books, where they were planning a feature and a TV show simultaneously. Lin-Manuel Miranda was involved, John Rogers, Josh Friedman. But it's daunting, right? Because there's a lot of money that would take to go into that. So I would say, show the world, the potential of the world, but lead with the first thing.
Would you even mention that you have 7 more ideas, or would you just say this could abstractly lead to a bunch of different things? Because I don't know if you want to scare them with an overload, like I've got 7 ideas, or I have other ideas as a way in.
I mean, I think you should. I think you all need to understand, though, that the business is very symbiotic. And so when you're selling something to an executive, they're an executive, and how they move up in their careers is by picking winners and getting credit for developing out something. So that's why it's total counterintuitive, but in television, they buy more pitches than they do scripts. That makes no sense, right? The script is done. It's great. Why not buy that as opposed to just an idea of what something could be? The reason is, a lot of the time, in my opinion, is that a script means that there's very little contribution that the network can be. It's right there on the page. And instead, you hear an idea, you think the idea is great. That executive is then going to dig in, and in success is going to claim as much responsibility for that show in their circles as you would with your accolades as a writer in writer circles and awards for writers, right? I mean, I still know executives that trade on the fact they developed Desperate Housewives, the Breaking Bad, Mad Men. They were there, right? And that is their that's their value. That's what they're talking about. That's their commodities. I did that. I can do that again for you, right? So overloading what exactly that vision is, I haven't found to be helpful, because then they're like, you also don't want them to pick something out of the third idea and be like, well, I really like this, until if they're taking it that way, I'm not interested.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get them on the hook.
Right.
It's all about getting them on the hook and then keeping them on the hook, right?
Yeah, I totally understand that. That makes perfect sense. And so Deborah Devi says she has how would I attach an interested financier to my script? Would I ask her for a letter of intent, for example? She's grateful for her interest, but not sure how to handle it or how to showcase it when querying managers and agents. So she has this, in parentheses, billionaire financier to the script. How do we attach that so when we present it to you, we've got backing, we can show with funding, and it's something that would be more lucrative?
Well, I mean, you got to look at what your end goal is in that micro example, right? Are you looking to get representation? Is that why you want that letter, or you want to get the movie made? Personally, I lean towards getting the movie made, right? If you really have a billionaire that's ready to make the movie, go make the movie and have an end product to show. I think that would get an agent's attention. Like, hey, here's a film I made, and it's fantastic, as opposed to, hey, I have a billionaire interested to finance my film. Then, personally, I would say, well, why aren't you going to make the movie? You don't need me. You have the money already. In the feature world, you're trying to get things made. So in that example, I see is that you've got all the pieces you need to go make it. If you have budget and you have money, go make the movie, right? And then show me the movie when it's done. If you're looking for representation, that's just
because I think it might be more of she's got the vision, she's got the script, maybe she has the ability to direct, but now she needs all the other pieces as well because she has the money. It's maybe finding all those other pieces is where an agent or a production company might come in handy. So
maybe. Yeah, sure.
Well, Tom Dwyer, he's got a final cut, broadcast ready featured documentary that has received good reviews at 12 plus festivals. What should our next steps be to get this film into the world and in front of viewers' eyes? So it's ready to go. It's all done. It's beloved at festivals, but yet somehow he can't get anybody else to see it.
Sorry, Craig, I missed that first part. You say it's a feature film that's
final
finished.
Cut. Yeah, it's a final cut, broadcast ready feature documentary. And so it's gotten good reviews at festivals, but he wants to know what the next step is so he can get more eyes and more viewers.
Wow. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a difficult one. I mean, documentary is a very niche market. And so, there are only a handful of people that are doing it. I think more that Netflix has branched out to documentaries, Amazon's doing more, these streamers are looking for it. How to go about it, I think just trying to get it in their hands. And I don't know. I think if it's doing that well, again, we're talking about, like we talked about before, doing well in those festivals, continue to win awards, continue to just put out great product. I mean, everyone knows the story of The Martian, right? The book. If you don't, he literally self-published this chapter by chapter, right? And then all these scientists started really loving it and correcting his incorrect things with science, and he continued to adapt it. Then he put it all out, and all of a sudden he just started becoming this massive following, which then got a publisher involved. And then that book came out, and it was a huge hit. It was a huge movie, right? But that was just kind of continuing to put it out. Someone will find it. Everyone's looking for that. And so if this one continues to win awards, someone will find it.
Well, here's a question from, where was it? I just had it. Lisa Ginsburg. She said, we just talked about, they're buying more pitches than scripts. TV buys more pitches than scripts. Does that mean that you will package your own writers for script if the pitch sells, or is the creator of the idea still at the center of the project? So if they're buying the pitches and not the script, does the creator still have a lot more say, or is it just they're buying the idea and because they don't want the script because it's already a finished product?
No, in both instances, the creator stays involved, very involved. Now, of course, if it matters in television, it matters the level at which you're at, right? What experience you have. If you're a seasoned showrunner or executive producer, you know how to run a room. You know how to put together a show, and they'll be like, we love this, and you go do it. Now, if it's an up and coming great new voice and they love that show, you stay, again, going back to what we talked about, authenticity. These stories come from an authentic place, right? It's inherent. That's what they're looking for. They want to keep that voice, but then they'll add a showrunner that can shepherd this thing. I mean, every show is a multi-million-dollar business, right? Every one is a multi-million-dollar startup. And so you're managing millions of dollars to make a show. And so they need to be able to trust someone to execute that on time, on budget, quality, all that stuff. Show running is still about writing, but it's a much more, you should almost have a business degree to do it.
Yeah, it's
right. Most of them don't.
Real.
Yeah. But that's where if that answers the question, where you could get paired with someone. But of course, regardless of a pitch or script, you as a writer in television stay involved. Now, features are a little different, right? You guys have all heard that TV is a writer's medium, writer's king, right? The vision of writing episodes, that it comes from someone or a group of writers. And in features, it's a director's medium, right? Writers are not a dime a dozen, but any movie today you go look at a Marvel movie, there's like 10 writers listed, because you had one guy do a draft, and you had another guy do a draft, you got another guy do a draft, and it's like tissue paper, right? And I don't want to be flip about that, but that's how their business model. That doesn't happen in television. They buy something from somebody's specific point of view. They might add a showrunner, and then you will hire, along with that showrunner, a room. So you have co-producers and story editors, all that stuff, but they're helping you execute your vision of that show.
We got a question from Anonymous. Is it worth student filmmakers contacting you with successful proof of concept films?
I mean, again, yeah, it's case by case basis.
It's good, yes.
But and it's good, great, absolutely. But again, there are many gradations of agencies and management companies, right? So if you're just breaking out, maybe it doesn't make sense to go to one of the really, really big agencies, because you can get lost very easily. And yeah, you could go out and say that you're at a big acronym agency, but are you really represented? Or there are a lot of boutique agencies that really strive to work for their clients, and that could be better. They could be more receptive to taking someone out of college with something great on and building on that. It's about bandwidth, and it's about time, right? You need to find someone that has the time and taste that jives with you and what you're looking for.
Well, I think this last question is going to sum things up, because I know after this is done, you're going to be overwhelmed with emails and people are going to want to reach out to you, which I thank you for your time.
Of course.
Initially, do you require a solicited logline, synopsis, pitch deck, and script? Is that your package preference? How do you like to be contacted first? Your initial contact, Star Trek wise, the first contact. Do we don't interfere? How would you like to be approached?
Oh, you mean like post this, the people that are in this, are you talking about it as a potential client, how in
general,
just on every day, how to be approached?
I mean, the point is this will probably happen to you in the next couple of days.
Right.
In general, how would you prefer to be approached, and how do you recommend people approach agencies, and is it logline and spec script? Is it the full script? Is it just a brief summary of who they are real quick? How would you like them to be introduced in that first contact?
In regards to the attendees today, yes, a log line or a one pager about what the idea is, attached to script. I always love background on people because I think background's important to know where you come from, what those things are, and learning about that. And whatever material you feel is the best indication of who you are as a creator, right? I don't need to see your newest thing necessarily, if it's a work in progress, or I don't need to see your first thing that you still love after 5 years. I want to see something that is relatively done recently, but it's your best foot forward. That's all I can ask, right? Just put your best foot forward, and we'll take a look.
Great. Well, Shan, we really appreciate you being here today. Very insightful, very helpful, and thank you so much on behalf of Big Apple Film Festival. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
And Jonathan, you guys and Craig, you'll distribute my email. Do you want me to tell people my email here now?
Whatever.
I saw a question.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, please send it to everyone. But so it's very simple. It's SRAY, like my name, SRay @Gersh.com.
Okay. All right. So it just went into the chat box there, so y'all can see that. All right. So yeah, Sean, I want to thank you so much for being here. Again, Big Apple Film Festival and the Agents and Managers Conference all going until tomorrow. So, again, please fill out the registration form for the All Access Pass holders so we can share your project info with all of our speakers from the week. Thank you, Sean, for being here and representing the Gersh Agency. Thank you, Craig, for moderating. And in about 10 minutes, we will be speaking with Brad Rosenfeld, who is the agent and founder of Culture Creative. So thank you all, and we'll see you all soon.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.